Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. I'm Jody Kite.
I am James McCarthy.
This is Brady Davis.
I may be Ethan Skinner.
Maybe.
3 positives and 1 not so sure.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
surprised.
differs every day.
There you go. How very Zoomer of you.
Speaking of Zoomer, what is a Zoomer doing nowadays?
I'm a Zoomer.
Look at that transition.
I have been getting back into making some jerky for some friends. Some
Jerk.
Are you a jerky fanatic or a jerky holic? What's the term for you now at this point?
I would be considered a social jerker, I guess. That sounded wrong the moment I
said
thought
that
it,
with
yes.
a straight face. I am amazed.
Trust me, I'm not proud of that one.
You know, social jerking might pertain to something we're going to be talking about later on in the show.
Christ.
Sometimes you just let the joke stand.
And sometimes we beat it with a dead horse.
Yes, there you go.
And sometimes the joke is satire. But,
yes.
you know, moving on to what you were doing.
Other than making some more jerky, I remember I was watching some YouTube the other day, and I got reminded of an old YouTube series on Channel Federator called Bravest Warriors. It was originally a kind of like a short animation, like an animation short on Nicktoons in 2009.
Was that the Pendleton Ward?
Pendleton Ward,
okay.
yes.
I thought that was a Mondo cartoon, but I guess I'm wrong.
No, it's Pendleton Ward. Same person behind
Adventure
Time,
Yep.
yeah.
And then in 2012, Channel Federator got with Ward and made a short YouTube series, which I thought it was like 2 seasons of like short, like 6-minute, 12-minute episodes.
That was Catbug, wasn't it? Wasn't Catbug from that?
Catbug
Yeah,
and Possum Bear, things like that. And I realized they had 4 seasons of it.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm going back and watching what I can on YouTube and some other. I think it's on Verve, Prime Video, whatnot. So yeah, just watching some videos.
Fuck VRV. Anyway, that's
why do I feel we've established an underlying theme for this week? Just not by talking about anything directly, just how we've been talking about the things.
I talked about that on another podcast we used to do many decades ago.
That is true.
About VRV, and when I got VRV, they had 20 different channels, and then they canceled Shudder and a bunch of other stuff, and I had to go through an act of Congress and actually cancel a credit card to get
Did
them
they cancel
off.
Shudder, or did AMC just get Shudder and just remove
That
them
was
from
well
them?
before AMC had their streaming service.
Okay.
That was VRV saving money because they could only afford like what they were getting from Crunchyroll, because it was Crunchyroll runs VRV.
Oh, okay.
So,
gotcha.
And like I think the only thing they have on there is like that and like Curiosity Stream and a couple other things now. But anyway. Brady, what you been up to? Go ahead, Jay. What were you going to say?
I was going to ask if Nebula was a part of that.
Nebula might be on there.
I think
not
Nebula
sure.
and Curiosity Stream are connected.
Are connected? Yeah, because that's when you
every
mentioned that.
every YouTuber that I watch has Nebula. They always mention Curiosity Stream almost in the same breath. So I think that they have something to do with each other.
I think Dust is also on VRV, but it's on something else as well, which is a sci-fi shorts series.
Yeah.
There you go.
Brady, what you been up to, man?
Oh shit. Okay. So this past weekend was my daughter's birthday. So I spent the weekend with her.
Happy birthday, Lily.
Happy birthday.
We went to the Ocean Springs Parade, and apparently I got too much sun because I was sunburned.
So this wasn't the night parade.
No, this
Okay,
is the day parade.
Getting too much sun at the night parade is actually an achievement.
Yeah, that would
You have to be aware.
They had
to
fun.
pull that off.
Her and her brothers and sisters, they all had fun. Then she wanted to go out to eat to Buffalo Wild Wings. Took her out there. It was actually better than the last few times that I've went. So maybe they've actually got some good cooks there.
Good.
Okay,
So
good.
that gives me a little bit of hope for that. And then we came home and we watched a movie that I'd heard a whole lot of buzz about, the horror movie called Skinamarink. It's kind of a found footage, but it's done kind of in a found footage style. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to say that it's found footage. Like, it's very polarizing. Mm-hmm. People you either hate this movie or love this movie. I fall a little bit in the middle. There's things in it that I really, really like that are very interesting, and then there are some things that I don't like. It's a very experimental film. Elevator pitch is it's these two kids, very young kids, like I think one of them's 4 and one of them's like maybe 6 or 7. Wake up and they find that their parents are gone, and all of the doors and the windows and the toilet in their house just keep phasing in and out of reality, mostly out of reality. So they can't get out. And then this thing starts talking to them and telling them to do things. There are parts of it that are very creepy that made me, want to hide my eyes because I knew something was going to happen. Generally, I don't like jump scares because I find them very cheap, but sometimes they can be very effective. And I don't know how I feel about the jump scares in this movie. There's not a whole lot of them, but they do use them. And I don't know exactly how I feel about it. My daughter, like when we were done with it, she was like, the guy who directed this and wrote this needs to see somebody.
So, IMDb has a 5.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 71%.
Is it audience score?
Let me get that.
It's very polarizing. Like, it's one of the, but it is. I'm kind of happy that it exists, though.
What are you laughing about?
Rotten Tomatoes has 71%. The audience score is 43%.
Yeah, it's very polarizing.
And then 58% of Google users like the movie.
I can see how somebody how somebody would watch this and love this, and somebody would watch this and hate this because it is slow in parts. It's very, very weirdly shot. I say it's called a found footage movie, but like the perspective is nonsensical. It's almost like a dream or a nightmare. Like I listened to a podcast where they talked about it this morning, and one of the people was talking about how this is almost how it feels to have night terrors.
Oh, okay.
Because they were like, I had night terror. I had night terrors and sleep paralysis, and this reminded me of that. The angles are really weird. You really never see anybody's face. Like, you're always seeing it from an odd angle or just off, or sometimes you're seeing it straight from the kid's point of view, but then it switches and a lot of weird things happen. And it runs off of dream logic a lot. It's an interesting movie. It's on Shudder. I was going to watch it in the theaters, and I probably would have, I think it's worth watching in the theaters, but that run has already passed in this area. But it is on Shudder. Watching it in the complete darkness with the lights turned off. They do this like film grain thing because it's supposed to be in the 90s. So there's like a heavy film grain that was like, I think added. I think they shot digitally and then added it. But it's one of those movies that was shot with very little money.
Budget of $15,000.
Yeah, and it's made like over $1 million. So
$2 million.
2 million. Now it's 2 million. Okay. When the podcast I listened to they had said 1 million, but by now it has been more. But it's an interesting movie. It's worth checking out, but you're probably either going to hate it or you're going to love it. But I fall somewhere in the middle. I like a lot of stuff in it, but some things are like, eh. Mm-hmm. But my daughter, it scared the shit out of her. So, there's that. So, and the other thing that I just want to talk about real quick was the second thing that I'm going to do for Black History Month. So the subject is very well known right now, but this particular run, I think people have kind of forgotten about it. Black Panther, he's a very, very popular character nowadays, and that makes me very happy because he's one of my favorite characters. But when was this? This was 2016. Ta-Nehisi Coates, who up until this point hadn't written any comics. He had done some nonfiction, and I think now he's actually written some novels. I think one of his novels is like The Water Dancer or something. The Water something, I can't remember. But he did a run of Black Panther comics called A Nation Under Our Feet, and it's a very, very good run. It showcases a point where both Wakanda and the Black Panther were kind of at their weakest. What does T'Challa do when his back's against the wall, when he's facing people are actually starting to question, hey, maybe this whole monarchy thing isn't all that cool. Hey, we're kind of being, we've kind of got, a lot of bullshit's happened. Like we've been, this is a point where Wakanda for a very long time had never been attacked or defeated or anything. And now it's taken a couple of losses. This is right after Dr. Doom attacks Wakanda and they have to destroy most of the vibranium to keep him from it. Namor attacks at Atlantis, with Atlantis using the part of the Phoenix Force. So like they're reeling from hit after hit after hit. This is T'Challa just now coming back to rule the country. He had abdicated the throne and Shuri was the Black Panther for a while, but now Shuri, through some other things that have happened, now she's basically dead. And he's trying to figure out how to bring her back because she's in a state where she's not completely dead, but she's also not alive. And things there are people, behind the scenes who are fomenting revolution and all these other things. And it's a very, very interesting comic, and it talks about a lot of like heady ideas that are really interesting, and it's things that a lot of people have asked about. Black Panther. It's like, oh, Black Panther's cool, but like this is a monarchy, so that's kind of weird. Mm-hmm. And it asks these questions and it talks about them, and but it's pretty interesting. So if you ever get a chance, pick up that. If you like Black Panther, like this is one of the best Black Panther runs. Another one being The Client. The Client is a really good. If you can get either of these two collected runs, read these because they are great and very, very interesting. And again, this is T'Challa with his back against the wall. So it's something that you don't see very often, because usually T'Challa is like 8 steps ahead of everybody. So yeah, if you're interested in Black Panther, I would say definitely check that run out. It's very, very good. Yeah, and Ta-Nehisi Coates is a very good writer. I think he's done some other comics as well. So yeah. All right, that's me.
All right, Jay, what have you been up to, man?
Hi. It's been a lot of podcast admin this week. Part of it was a good part of it was editing the part 2 for Aegon, which was a really fun edit because it was the stuff that we had recorded last week and then cut in with the stuff that we did 2 weeks prior to that. So it was nice to kind of work in that environment, see if we could do like a multiple part episode like that. And I think it worked. Mm-hmm. I'll leave the passengers to figure out whether or not that was correct or not.
It was fun to record, that's for sure.
Yeah. Updated the document with our episodes going forward. I'm probably, and it's going to be a little bit slow going, but I'm going to go back to episode 1 and kind of go back over everything and then add to the document, so we kind of have a bit more of an anchor of something we can pull from, like we talked about these things, so we don't necessarily trample over already trodden ground.
Right.
So I'm very excited about that. And then just kind of prepping for the ideas that we are getting going forward. And just kind of, I guess, a little spoiler for next week. Next week, our episode is on 2-player games, sit-down 2-player games, not video games, let's say, over the computer or over the arcade. That might be its own episode in and of itself later on in the year, but we will see about that. But we're going to talk about just 2-player board games, card games, things like that. I know Magic's going to come up. I was able to get a anniversary copy of Twilight Struggle, which for a lot of people is the best 2-player game. We're going to play it before we get a chance to talk about it and see what people think about that. Also, I'm going to be hanging out with some coworkers I go to the gym with after work, and then after we go to the gym, we're going to go to Waffle House to completely eradicate the gains from the gym, and I'm going to force them to play Hive. They don't know yet, and so
that game's amazing.
And kind of get their kind of maybe experiences on that as well. So I'm really excited for the slate episodes we got coming up, and again, like I said, I hope the passengers are too. So yeah, there you go.
I like Hive, but I am ass at Hive.
I'm also ass at Hive because I'm ass at chess.
I've never heard of Hive, but it sounds fun.
Oh, it's great.
So in addition to Twilight Struggle tomorrow, I'm bringing Hive as well.
You'll like it.
Okay. I'm planning on bringing Summoner Wars.
Oh, Summoner Wars is a good one too.
Jaipur. So.
Oh, Jaipur's there's a lot of good 2-player games, and we're going to go over that next week. Same Omni time, same bus channel.
Channel.
Sure.
Cool. That works. That
same
was
bus.
We thought that out beforehand. Definitely.
Yeah. You can tell by our elocution and not fucking it up.
Yes.
There you go.
Definitely did not fuck that up.
Yeah. Also, I'm not going to say, but we're doing another Omnibus theater. The disc is actually in the studio right now, and you know what? I'm gonna give you a hint. 1980s animation classic ? Quotation marks.
Early 80s,
but still 80s.
Early 80s, but that still like covers a lot.
Absolutely.
So.
Hey,
Jody,
what
have
you
been
doing?
Okay. I've been doing a couple things. I've been watching some stuff on Netflix, and there's one other thing I'm going to talk about after that. I've been watching this Korean-made Netflix show that's about finding the most physical specimen in the country. It's like a reality/strength competition is what it is.
Kind of like World's Strongest Man, but for Koreans only.
Yes.
Yeah, and these people are fucking insanely ripped, most of them. But they have different kinds of physiques throughout the entire competition. There's 100 people. It's called Physical 100. There's 100 people, men and women. Some of them are ex-military or still in the military, CrossFit trainers, YouTube celebrities, movie stars that have like nice physiques from training to be in such things, and weightlifters, bodybuilders, just like any sort of like thing that you can think of to run the gamut of different kinds of physicalities you have it. And the first episode starts with them eliminating half of them.
Jesus.
They all have to hang from this crane contraption, and half of them that drop first basically lose out.
Okay.
And then they get to the physicality where they have to one-on-one fight each other over a medicine ball. That shit's fucking crazy. The last episode I watched was an episode where each team, they have 2 teams of 5, and each team has to build half a bridge by laying planks over and strapping it around the rope, because it's a rope bridge with slotted planks. And half of it's done. They have to finish that and then carry sand from one area to the other, like upstairs and then over the bridge, and then pour sand into a tube, and whoever puts the most sand on their team wins, and then the other team of 5 completely gets eliminated. So they're cutting it from 100 to 50 to 25 within the first 4 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So they're like ramping the pacing up, because I think when they get to like the last 10, it's probably going to be like a one-on-one situation to kind of slow it down.
That sounds like.
But it's pretty pimp. I like it.
Okay.
And I've been watching the new Junji Ito Netflix show.
I saw that was up.
Let me get this straight. You were attracted to media by Junji Ito.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe
and
this.
appalled.
Yeah.
It's like Brady likes Sleep Token. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I'm sure Brady will watch this at some point in the near future.
I saw it, and I will probably eventually get around to it.
So there's 12 episodes. I've watched 8 so far. Out of the 8, and then some of the episodes have smaller stories in them. There's a couple that have like 2 stories, but most of them are one linear story. Out of the 8 episodes as a whole, I think only one of them, 1.5, considering they have half stories on some of them, were, kind of okay, because they can't all be winners. Yeah. I mean, Ito himself, like, Gaio is not his best work. But episode 8 was a Tomei episode.
Okay.
And it's based off of...
I'll co-sign now.
Yeah, it was based off of the Photograph short story. And... it's pretty wild. I will give a minor spoiler to an episode where the episode starts out with this is trigger warning. What's up?
I feel a sneeze coming on.
Oh,
so
well,
be prepared if it comes later.
Oh, okay. There.
Future Jay, prepare to edit this.
A trigger warning.
Everybody's anticipating the sneeze.
He has a literal trigger warning on a sneeze.
Yeah. So the episode starts with this girl's sister, who's very, very famous and happy all the time, commits suicide. And so like the day after, she's trying to talk to the boyfriend, because everybody thinks the boyfriend is involved and like maybe made her like really depressed, and so she killed herself. No, that's not what's happening. There are these giant balloon floating heads, like severed heads with a noose hanging from them, and it floats towards the person that has the same like facial features. And so if it gets close to you, that's it. Junji Ito.
Jesus, that's
Junji Ito.
That's,
And I think the I won't say the most fucked up, but like one of the better episodes is the one with the tunnel, and I'll leave it there. The tunnel and the Tomei episodes are probably like the best one. I knew the Tomei episode was going to be awesome because I read that story already.
Yeah.
So yeah. And one other thing I wanted to talk about, let me bring this up here. I'm going to say some of these are going to be said twice because I have part of it on 2 different pictures. So I'm going to name some games off. All right. Crossfire X, Back for Blood, Marvel's Avengers, Rumbleverse, Apex Legends Mobile, Battlefield Mobile, Echo VR, Knockout City, Crime Site, Dragon Quest, The Adventure Bond, or something of that nature. Yes. All those games / services are being canceled within the next 6 months.
Yep. Hope you didn't invest in any of those.
So if the free games were free and you didn't put any money into them, then so be it. But if you actually, some of those were actually...
Let's be realistic. If you played any of the free games for any long amount of time, you put money into it because that's just how they work.
Some of those games, much like Anthem, once the service is done, the service is done. And most of those you can't play at all once they are done.
Yeah. They hope you didn't invest in any of these games or maybe don't invest in anything that they call a live service game because you're rolling the dice as to how long they're actually going to.
The people involved with Back for Blood, I think it's Back for Blood. There was 1 or 2 games where the people involved in that one are going to try and keep the game going on Steam.
Oh, bless their hearts.
But there's not going to be any updates or anything. It's just multiplayer, and that's going to be it.
The interesting one, that Back for Blood has a lot of the team that worked on
Left 4 Dead.
That worked on Evolve from Turtle Rock Studios, which were the
okay.
people who were instrumental behind Left 4 Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Which Left 4 Dead 2 is still my favorite of that genre. Like they perfected it with the sequel. And because it's Valve, it'll never get a 3.
Yeah.
Funny you should mention
Never
that.
got past Left 4 Dead 1 for reasons.
Funny you should mention that.
Wait, I'm curious. Why for reasons?
Why does Eddie say that I've
censored?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
So Left 4 Dead 2 actually has more of a player base, or had up until them announcing that Back for Blood was getting canceled, more of a player base. That game's like 8+ years old. So Left 4 Dead 2.
I think it's 10+ now.
Let's figure this out.
Figure that shit out.
I'm buds.
But so it makes me sad that not that even the shitty games aren't going to be you won't have access to, and that's just it. Like they're gone. That's just
13 and a half.
13 and a half years.
Yeah, that was before the turn of the last decade.
That was the 360 PS3 era.
November of 2009.
Yeah.
I try not to be an old man about things, but I feel like video games are one of those things where I'm definitely an old man about them. I want a game that I have PlayStation 1 games and Game Boy Advance games that I can pick up now.
Yeah.
Game Boy Advance, not as much because, I think my DS still works, so I can do that. But I want a game that I can, pick up later and still play. Decide, dang, I stopped playing this 10 years ago. Let me pick it back up and see if and play it.
A few years ago, Nintendo released these like Game Boy Micros where you can actually play Game Boy Advance games in it. I was able to pick one of those up from a friend of mine.
Nice.
Okay. I should have never. I have a DS. I have one of the original DSs, but I should have never gotten rid of my Game Boy Advance SP. I miss that thing.
I think if you're an old man right now, I think especially at least on the indie side, you have a lot of retro styled, not necessarily retro games, but retro styled games. What's the one with the ninja that you play all the time?
Oh yeah, shit. It's been a while since I played it.
Maybe he's a samurai. I don't know.
It's something.
It's not the Messenger, which
samurai.
is a very great homage to Ninja Gaiden.
It's something. This is more about this is more of a stealth thing where you got to kill all the people, and if you get hit, then you just start the room over again. When I play a video game, like I'm gonna put it down, and I might get back to it sometime later. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, the video games may be impossible to find once the services get discontinued, but you can find us very easily. Where at, Jay?
We are available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, and Apple, what we call Saga, so that we remember it. Also, if you'd like to get in touch with us via email, travelersontheomnibus@gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L, on the omnibus @gmail.com. Also, take part in our polls and questions on Spotify. Right now, we have no feedback this week, so it means...
I'm disappointed in one of you.
Uh-oh.
You know who you are.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Rhymes with Schmeventalo.
I didn't say that.
He's been very hard at work, and I'll talk a little bit more during the Happy Happies with the Cyberpunk campaign. It's going really good.
Yeah,
we're about to dive on into our main topic, and dive in we shall on this.
That doesn't connect. That doesn't connect at all.
You were doing so well at being so smooth.
You were smoother like butter. Now you're smooth like Jif Crunchy.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
It's messy.
Well, this week's episode is a topic that we like to go back to every once in a while. It's our mixtape.
Volume 3, baby.
Volume 3.
Where we all submit an album and we all listen to it. So I think...
Or attempt
to listen to it. Attempt several times to listen to it. Speaking of attempting,
I can only do once. That's all I got. That's all I had in me.
Spoilers. It's not Ethan's choice this time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's.
Although I have some things to say about that one as well.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Things to say about everybody's. All right.
All right. So I think we're going to start with Jay first.
Yay.
Jay, you picked a very interesting topic.
Yes, I went with a soundtrack this time. A soundtrack to a movie I've never seen. So why the hell?
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?
Doesn't that sound? Isn't that ass backwards?
What the fuck?
How very Jay of you.
I picked the soundtrack to The Big Chill, the 1983 coming of age of classic. Yeah, you're really not knowing what the fuck to do with this one now, do you? Never
God
seen.
Damn it!
Never.
What the fuck?
I have never seen.
I took this seriously. God damn it!
I took it seriously as well.
I was gonna watch the movie if it would have been on something else besides HBO Max.
Oh, if you had watched the movie,
I would have.
I refused.
You'd be
I absolutely.
You would be the only person at this table who would have watched the movie.
I've seen 4 seasons with Alda. Okay,
because the whole time, because I could. I know the normal format is that we explain the shit and then we get into but
okay, break it, motherfucker.
No, go ahead.
All right.
I will.
So it's the soundtrack to the 1983 coming of age classic The Big Chill, starring every young Hollywood actor at the time, which included Bill Pullman, Glenn Close. These are people that I don't consider them ancient, but they were at one time young actors, and they were in this movie.
I think Goldblum was the only
Jeff
one.
Goldblum.
He had been in like one
William
other.
Hurt.
William Hurt
was on there.
He filmed scenes, but wasn't included in the movie. Kevin Costner.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know the story. I know more of the story behind the movie than the actual movie because I've never seen the movie.
Now, I read the synopsis.
Yeah, you read the synopsis.
Didn't even bother with that.
Yeah, you know more about the movie maybe than me. We should have a pop quiz. No, we shouldn't. Anyway, so this album is very important for me because this album was the album that introduced me to Motown.
Okay.
This is the album that introduced me to 60s rock and 70s progressive rock. Those are two genres that I cannot say without this album I would have never been introduced to.
Huh.
And in particular, one of my favorite singers of all time, Mr. Marvin Gaye, Brother Marvin. I don't think I would have ever listened to What's Going On if it wasn't for the fact that Heard It Through the Grapevine was on the Big Chill soundtrack. The reason why I heard this soundtrack so many times is that it was a tape that played in my cousin's car every Friday when we went to Pizza Hut, played video games on the Nintendo Play Choice 10, got a big pepperoni pizza, and had family and fun and good times. So there's a lot of good memories on it. This is my Ethan, a lot of emotion and like family memories behind this one.
I gotcha.
So it was it. But again, the Motown experience in this album is almost second to none. Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson,
Aretha Franklin,
the Temptations, Four Tops. Every one of them has a song on this. It's some of their best music. In addition, as far as 60s and 70s, as far as rock and prog rock, you have Procol Harum, Whiter Shade of Pale. That's one of the most beautiful songs that I've ever listened to in my life. You have Joy to the World by Three Dog Night. That's just a fun song. So there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good positive emotion in this album that I've always enjoyed. Again, I don't know word one about the movie, not word one, but man, that soundtrack, good Lord. Like the version of it that I remember on tape coming out of it had that stylized M, that Motown M, and
the CD, because I had to actually
I had to look it up on eBay to make sure that the version that I was listening to on YouTube was in the correct order, because I want to at the very least listen to it in the order that it was. So I had to look up a CD for sale. And it had the track listing, so I knew I was listening to it in the right order. Mixtape 3,
but it had that Motown, but the CD had like that Motown, logo on it on the front of it.
And that led me down the world to some of the best R&B music that was ever produced.
I had to also listen to it on YouTube because Pandora, most of the time on Pandora, you can listen to an album, but you have to listen to a 15-second ad.
Yeah.
If the album is available to listen to. These songs are available to listen to separately on Pandora, but that's too much work. So I watched the track list on YouTube.
I will say this, for this Volume 3, not just for this album, but for all the albums in total that we presented, there was a lot of digging and information searching for this one that I was kind of dug. Because
less so for me.
Yeah. But again, you balance your hipsterness with your laziness. This is how we work.
Yes.
But anybody want to open up to me about how they felt about the Big Chill soundtrack?
Well, real quick, I want to also the funny thing about this, my main way that I listen to music is Amazon Music. I don't do Spotify or any of these other things. I do Amazon Music. This album was not on Amazon Music, but more songs from the Big Chill were on there.
The follow-up soundtrack was on there.
Back when they had sequels to soundtracks.
Sure. I was like, all of this music is in this fucking movie?
Probably not.
Maybe Jay will let us know about that, but apparently I'm wrong.
No. I have no idea what goes on there. I know Kevin Costner is dead.
Yeah. If
they had named the movie Kevin Costner is Dead, the original motion picture soundtrack, I think y'all have been a little bit more
What
interested
is funny is that the first thing I wrote down was like, I've never watched this movie, so to me this is just a collection of songs.
Yeah.
Honestly,
for me it is as well, but it's a collection of exceptionally good songs.
I put down on here, like, these are all great songs. The songs are great, but like there was no like connection with it. I was like, well, I was thinking maybe Jay will like talk about how something happened in the song and in the movie. No, that's not going to happen. To me, this basically could have been called, but it could have been, now that's what I call Motown almost. Like
mostly Motown.
You almost might have, and I know that there's like a big a specific memory attached to this, but for me, to me that's what it was.
Oh yeah, this is 70.
It was like, I like all these are all good songs. I'm not super big into R&B, but like, I remember like my mom and my dad, or especially my mom, like really liked like Motown stuff. But man, the whole time I refused to look up anything about the Big Chill other than this album.
I was tempted
because
to
the
watch
whole
a trailer.
Because the whole time that I had to that I had to listen to this on YouTube, I had to stare at this picture of all these fucking
yuppies
while this great music by black artists played, and I was like, what the fuck does this music have to do? Yes, that picture.
It's a bunch of yuppies. It's a bunch of 30-something yuppies.
Does all of these fucking
yuppies
have to do with this fucking music? What the fuck?
I'm not going to censor that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take his yuppies and I'm going to overlay it on that.
Fine.
So that the people who are listening to this think they may have had a stroke.
Oh God. Well, it'll be mail that we actually get in if we get it in. Somebody getting mad because I called them
yuppies.
I'm sorry. Jeff Goldblum, I'm sorry.
Yuppies.
I'm just making it harder for you. But yeah, like I like these.
Hold on. Who made it harder on you worse this week as far as this episode goes? Me or him?
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll fucking get to that.
We know the answer.
We'll fucking get to that.
I think that's your answer.
We know the answer.
I'll give you a hint. Jay's album and Ethan's album, I was able to listen to in the same day. I had to set aside time and work myself up for
who's the hipster now.
We'll fucking get to it.
He had to set up hydration schedules.
We'll fucking get to it.
He had to make sure the canary didn't die.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think I've ever seen Brady this angry.
No, I don't know. Shinedown was pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
The first choice, I think the first choice not mentioned for this one was yours, Jody. And then I was like, you know what? I need just something very simple and something very heartfelt. The Big Chill soundtrack. That's how. That's literally what that was literally behind the thoughts on that one. So any other one?
Yeah, let somebody else talk
Brady?
about it.
I go ahead, Ethan. Go ahead.
So, like many things, all of this is before my time. Came out in 1980s.
Most things are before your time.
Everything.
Yes, I've already established that.
Yes.
9/11 is almost before your time.
I'm actually before that time.
I know. That's why I said almost. That's why I said almost.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ is before your time.
Yes.
Yes.
My
time, I'm sorry, I've been listening to a lot of Copperhead
I played
Road.
varsity with Jesus. He had a great hook shot.
Ah, nice.
Oh, Jesus, what did Jody do then?
I was hanging out when it was all word of mouth and nobody wrote anything except for in cuniform.
Oh, okay.
3 words: Gilgamesh.
Cuneiform. All right, Ethan.
I like all the songs on this soundtrack. The Temptations, My Girl, Joy to the World, Bad Moon Rising, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
That one's on one of the Moors.
Yeah, that's
that's
on the Moors.
That one's not part of the original soundtrack. It is on the Moor, and also
the one with
of
CCR.
Course, Creedence was on Of course, Creedence eventually ended up on an album about a movie about some time about people getting over what happened in the 70s.
I think the other one also had. Didn't they have? Wouldn't it be nice?
By
the Beach Boys.
Yeah, that one's on there. Yeah.
But as I'm listening to this, I could just imagine. It reminds me of my being at my grandparents. My grandmother, she would always listen to music when she's cleaning, cooking, and she would always have music in the background playing. And I remember. It gives me that feeling being at my grandmother's family time, like you were explaining, Jay. So it gave me a sense of being with family.
This reminded me of my mom because like a lot of this stuff.
That's what that's what I was hoping for at least for one. And now that multiple have said, I'm very grateful for that. So thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that.
I have a different connection to oldies music, mainly because like I was extremely sheltered growing up. My parents were like uber religious, so like even this shit wasn't allowed to be listened to. So whenever my parents thankfully got divorced because my dad was a piece of yuppies. It's okay.
I'm gonna put yuppies on that one too.
It's okay.
That might be our new censor.
It can't offend anybody. He's dead. So moving on.
We need that for the soundboard. Yuppies. Yeah. Yuppies.
No, I need it can't offend anybody. He's dead. I need that on the soundboard.
So
we need our own soundboard at that point.
Without having a whole lot of without having a whole lot of context for music and in general at all, growing up in a Pentecostal household. Fire and brimstone, arsenic drinking, snakes.
Yeah.
They were pretty close. They're pretty close to that.
Are you having a Tourette's crisis?
I am totally having a Tourette's crisis right now. I went to oldies radio. I listened to a lot of oldies. Fell in love with Motown for the first time when I was a teenager, and a lot of the 60s and early 70s music before the oldie stations pretty much like have, culled that out of most of their rotations. But big fan of, the Temptations and Smokey Robinson, Miracles, and out of the soundtrack, I know it's based off the movie that none of us have seen.
We just know of it.
Right. It's kind of like the
longest I thought The Big Chill was a noir movie.
You'd think
that's No Way Out.
Okay.
So
there's something having to do with Chill that's a noir movie.
It might be.
We'll have to look that up on another day.
I'm not looking it up tonight.
Whiter Shade of Pale is the only one that doesn't really like ring with the rest of the songs. That one, and the Three Dog Night song also. Like I like all the songs, but like as you said, there's no cohesion there outside of the Motown stuff.
The non-Motown stuff is the stuff that I can actually see I've never watched the movie, not ever going to watch the movie, probably. But I can actually see like Good Lovin'. I can see that in that. I can see Jeff Goldblum doing something to that movie. You know, what is it? Joy to the World. I can see some bullshit happening with all of them.
Right.
I just can't imagine what the fuck's going on in this movie where these Motown songs are playing.
Well, I heard it through the grapevine. That was a very popular pop
Heard through
song.
the grapevine might actually be, because that is damn near like a pop.
That's one of my top 5 of all time, as we've established in the past.
Yeah.
But I second that. Emotion and Tracks of My Tears. I don't see any of these fuckers listening to these songs, but I like them all. Like I've heard these songs numerous times, and I don't necessarily go out and seek to listen to it again because it was like a phase in my life that I'd rather not.
That's fair.
Go through. But, I don't have any negative attachment to them. I don't mind listening to them, especially in a situation like this where we were like submitting albums or whatnot. So, yeah, I liked it.
That's kind of how I am. I'm just not like that big on R&B, but I do like appreciate and like these songs.
The goal for this choice was comfort food.
Yeah.
It was just literally like just sit back and just listen to some really good music. Like, and you're 100% right. There is no... I have to think that even if you know the movie, there is no rhyme or reason to why these songs are knit the way they are. They're just there.
Somebody's probably going to write in.
It might have to do with some of the characters, like growing up in certain neighborhoods.
If one of the 5 people that listens to this podcast has a problem or is the Big Chill aficionado, then the troll is complete. They thought they were going to get some talk about the movie, and we ain't said shit about it because it's completely nebulous for us.
So I guess we're are we wrapping up on that one?
Like
I think we're wrapping up on that.
I'm glad it was well received, though it caused questions in the brain. That's the perfect thing I was hoping for there.
So before we get into Ethan's album choice, I have to make a little blurb about the band in general. You see, Ninja Sex Party with Brian the Ninja and Danny Sexbang.
Brian Wecht, aka Ninja Brian, and Dan Avidan, again, Danny Sexbang.
They had some good stuff, mostly just internet meme worthy kind of stuff or whatever, until they hooked up with another retro band. What was it? Tupperware
Remix Party. Also known as Twerp.
Right. I think that's when they started really like taking off with this album that Ethan proposed here. So
before I knew Ninja Sex Party, I was watching Danny and Aaron from Game Grumps.
Aaron Hansen, aka Ego Raptor.
Mm-hmm. And there was one episode where they were like casually talking about Ninja Sex Party. I got interested. I looked it up. It's like Jody said. It's a lot of like internet cringe songs.
Some of them are cringe, and some of them are legitimately funny. And then most of them are cringe though.
And then I found Under the Covers Volume 1. This is their cover album of a lot of really good songs. Take On Me by Aha. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Your Love. Subdivisions.
Tears for Fears for Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Subdivisions is by Rush. Your Love is by The Outfield. Misunderstanding, which I believe is Phil Collins. Rock With You, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
That's a bold choice. That's a bold choice. Madrigal, which I think was...
I didn't write down.
I didn't write down who Madrigal was.
Names of the songs, but I didn't write down who.
I can't remember Madrigal or The Burning Down. Jump, Van Halen. We Close Our Eyes is
that was the one that I wasn't super familiar with.
The first choice anyone made in this was Ethan, and he did Under the Covers Volume 1. I was legitimately considering I was going to throw out Under the Covers Volume 2, which in my opinion is overall their better cover album. But this one has 2 of my favorite covers of all time, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
And now, I was really debating as to which one I wanted to pick. I ended up picking the first one because it's the first one. It's kind of like kicked them off with making
one of those that we mentioned is Genesis. I can't remember which one it is. It might be Madrigal or We Close Our Eyes. I can't remember.
I Wish You Were Here. And
that's a Pink Floyd song, right?
And The Last Unicorn.
Yep.
Like Jay was saying, 2 amazing covers where I actually prefer these versions over the originals.
See, I'm curious because I have the exact same number, but do I have the exact same song? So let's see what happens here.
Well, a lot of the covers are really good, but I think
I think it's a very exceptional I think it's a very exceptional album because they either nail the style perfectly or they take the song in a direction that completely works. The second one has this. They do the Stevie Wonder song that Will Smith butchered for the Wild Wild West movie. I think it's like the.
I can't remember the name.
And it's not on this one, so I apologize for that. But they cover a Stevie Wonder album, and they do it very well, like very well, and very respectful to like Stevie Wonder's style. Oh, I think it's great. But that's a whole other different album.
Take On Me and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Those are absolutely phenomenal to me. I say this a lot about a lot of songs that we talk about. One of those two is always playing when I go into work at night. More so, Everybody is playing, but it takes the song into either
Misunderstanding is the Genesis song. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's quite all right.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
It takes it in a.
I saved us a strongly worded letter.
Okay.
It takes it
and maybe you're giving us 2 lightly worded letters. This is good. No, I will take that trade.
It takes it into a different direction of what the original is, and improves on it.
You have to do that with Take On Me, though. Like his falsetto in the original song is like nearly impossible to hit. Like, not too many people can hit that falsetto, and I think they took it in a good direction, for sure. On that high note there.
Yeah, phenomenal album. I absolutely love it. I love all the other cover albums they do. Kind of wondering if they're gonna get around to a fourth, but if they don't, then I'm sure they'll.
I love their comedy work. There are some cringe songs there. I think. They're big fans of Rush. In addition to Subdivisions here, they also did Limelight on the second cover album.
Yep.
And one of their magnum opus songs is based off of Rush 2112. Only theirs is called 6969. I'll let you figure out what that song's about on your own time. It's a 9-minute song.
From the band Ninja Sex Party.
Yeah.
In the song 6969.
No Reason Boner was one of their cringe songs, I remember.
The speaking parts where they're not just singing, it's like they're like here's Slice of Light. Oh, how's your day going? Oh, it's great. And then he has a boner, and then oh no, and the hijinks that ensue.
Yes,
there you go. So for you, you said the 2 better, Take On Me and Everybody Wants to Rule the World, are better than the original. Yes. Bold statement. I think they're very good. Those are not my 2.
What are you 2?
So I spoiled this last week. Their version of Subdivisions is better than Rush's. Here come the strong emails, and one of them is going to come from John Brady Davis going, Dear Jay, I thought about killing you when I had the shot. Because how dare you talk about Rush as being secondary to some group called
I know
Ninja
why
Sex
you say
Party.
that, because you don't like Geddy Lee's voice, right?
Geddy Lee's voice is warbly, but even then, like in the Subdivision song, it's not as bad as it is in other songs.
Like the whole time but we'll get to my thoughts overall. Just continue with what you were saying.
Okay. All right, the second song, their version of Wish You Were Here is better than Pink Floyd's.
I fucking knew you were going to say that. That is...
It's better than Pink Floyd's.
No, it's not. You can think it is, and you can have that opinion, and that's cool, but like, no, it's not. I'm sorry. That intro to the guitar was like very poorly played. I do like that they... So, okay, might as well get this out of the way. I don't give a fuck about Ninja Sex Party. I've never liked anything that they have done. None of their stuff has ever made me laugh. I don't particularly this was a boring ass album. I'm sorry. Every single song on here sounded almost exactly like the original. I do not maybe my ears are different than y'all's, but I am not hearing anything about this. Oh my god, they took this in a different direction. To me it sounds exactly like it except with a different singer. And to me that is the worst cover that you could possibly do.
Okay, so I'm 1 for 2 with albums that Brady likes. That's good to know.
Like, you can like this, it's fine. I'm not gonna like shit on you for liking this, but like for me, every single one of these, I was like, this sounds like the same song just with a different singer. This sounds like the same song with just a different singer. The only song where I was like, it might actually be better than the original was The Last Unicorn, and then I wrote down, but why the fuck would I ever listen to The Last Unicorn if I'm not watching The Last Unicorn? Like, I'm never going to listen to this song outside of that particular thing that I'm doing. The guy's voice is just fine. I don't like and the musical arrangements to me sound, every song that I knew most of the songs on here, and every single one of them was just like, this sounds exactly like they are just literally covering it, and they're not taking it in a different direction. They're not making it their own. I do not hear what y'all are hearing. I will be honest, Wish You Were Here, probably I would have liked it if they would have cut out the guitar part and just did piano. The piano part on that they add in there is actually good, and that is something different. But the beginning licks of the guitar, I don't know if they did it, but it's like the 12-string intro. That is off. Like, it sounds like somebody who doesn't know how to play that, because there's like there's like that da, 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 and then there's a gap. There's a gap of time that's not in there. That's not in the original. And it feels like somebody is doing that lick and then having to stop and change the position of their hands because they can't do it quick enough in the original. You can like these, and that's fine, but I just do not see where any of these songs I would ever listen to any of these songs better than the original. So now that I have brought down the room, yeah, that's my opinion on this. I did not like this.
Well, this is how I feel about it. I understand where you're coming from, Brady. I really do, because a lot of these songs do sound very, very close to the original, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the band that joined Ninja Sex Party. Like I said right before we started talking about the album, Tupperware Remix Party. Those guys were just instrumental cover band, and they had covered these songs a lot. That's probably why at least most of the songs on here are pretty tight, because they had been playing these songs for years before Danny got them to join Ninja Sex Party, if nothing else than for these Under the Covers albums.
And I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah, go ahead.
But there's a definite shift in their regular work on their regular albums when Twerp comes on, because Brian Wecht is a very good musician. Composing and even off of something that already exists. I don't think he stacks up, and where Twerp came in and kind of put a little bit more of power behind the.
If you want to get an idea of what they sounded like before, there was the thing they did with Aaron. I can't remember.
Starbomb.
That was also after.
Was it?
Twerp's on that as well.
What? Oh, okay.
If you want the true divide, their first two albums, comedy albums, are NSFW and Strawberries and Cream. That's just Dan Avidan and Brian Wecht.
Right.
The third album, which I think was Attitude City, that's where Twerp starts adding on, adding their stuff in there, and then from then on, they're kind of joined at the hip.
Yeah, musically, I would have to say that I agree with Brady on at least the fact that most of these do sound like straight note for note cover songs with Danny singing, although I will also say that like sometimes like a different singer does make a little bit of a difference on covering songs. But yeah, everybody that wants to rule the world, the Tears for Fears song sounded almost exactly instrumentally exactly the same. Yeah, I didn't like Wish You Were Here more than I liked the Floyd song, and I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan. I like a handful of their songs, and that's about it. I like The Wall because I'm a sucker for concept and gimmick. I like the concept albums and things like that. And of course, Dark Side of the Moon, but I don't like all the songs on that album either. Just because songs like Money and things like that got played out. I'm getting off track. But I did like Jump better just because I don't like David Lee Roth that much as a singer.
I fucking hate Van Halen, so I could take that or lose that.
Jump,
it still didn't seem
right.
like...
The Last Unicorn, to me, which is probably also going to be sad to say, is probably one of the best songs on the album for two reasons. One, it doesn't have a familiarity with it, so it sounds like it's different because I haven't heard it more than a couple times because only through watching the movie would you listen to that. Take On Me, I do like their version of Take On Me. I don't say it's I wouldn't say it's better than, but I think it's at least close to on the same level of talent on that cover. A lot of these songs I haven't heard multiple times of. We Close Our Eyes, I don't know who did that originally, but wasn't very familiar. I don't think I was familiar with that. I do remember
Go West.
Go West, yeah. That some of these are one-hit wonder songs. A lot of them are one-hit wonder songs, But who did Your Love? Who was that?
That was the outfield.
The outfield. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
Josie's on a vacation far away.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah, that one I preferred over the original song because I never really liked that singer.
I think he brought a lot more energy to that song.
But also true. But that's my ramblings on it. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. Anything to wrap it up, Ethan?
If you haven't listened to this before and you enjoy cover albums, I would recommend you listen to it. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. If you do, then check out the other cover albums.
That will bring us to Brady's submission for this week's episode.
So the last couple times that we did this, I've really had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted to submit. Especially the last one, like I knew pretty, but like way before that, like this is the album that I wanted to do because I wanted to showcase something interesting. But this one, I had a few things, and I didn't. Some things I didn't choose because I didn't want them to be ripped to shreds, and they're things that I hold dear. But some of them are, and you will probably. When we do this again, I know we're going to do this again because this is something that I think we all like to do.
It's really fun. Yes, it's really fun.
This is a fun thing to do most of the time. We'll get to that. But so I ended up with, and this is not what I chose, but I am a really, really big fan of Tool. I got to them a little bit later than a lot of people, but I fell hard down the rabbit hole of that. There were times where I would literally... I had all the Tool albums at that time, and I would put one in, listen to it, take it out of the CD changer or the CD player, and put another one in. Now, at that time, the lead singer, Maynard James Keenan, also had another band that he had started with the guy who was actually the guitar tech for Tool,
Billy
Howerdale. And they started a band, and they had 2 albums. And the way it often would work is in between Tool albums, because Tool albums take for fucking ever to come out. They would do an album, but then when 10,000 Days came out, like they never got around to doing an album. Well, they eventually did. There's been a lot of members of Tool, but really it's Maynard James Keenan and Billy Howerdale. Like everybody else has kind of went to the wayside, and especially on this one.
Perfect Circle?
A Perfect Circle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there's been a lot of members of A Perfect Circle. Some of them actually they got from Smashing Pumpkins. But for this one, it was almost entirely. Maynard James Keenan wrote the words, and Billy Howerdale did almost all of the instrumentation. And they had 4 drummers do it, and then this guy Matt Jenkins he did bass for 2 of the songs.
Buying Down the River and
Feathers. And then Jeff Friedel.
Jeff Friedel is the main drums on the production.
He's the main drums, but then there was also Matt Chamberlain, Isaac Carpenter, and Dave Sardy, who was actually the producer as well.
As I understood that, and I may be wrong, Friedel was the main drummer, but they brought the other ones in and...
Because they were session. Drummers. The second 2 were session musicians, and they even you can't find information of who did what drumming. Mm-hmm. They just call them the APC drum quartet. I think is what they called them as a joke. But this one came out in 2018. We'd been waiting for A Perfect Circle music for a long time because we'd gone a long time. Fans of them had gone a long time without them, and this one came out. And if you think about the time of 2018, this was actually oddly. A very political album. I don't know if y'all know
got that.
Oddly,
yeah. Like that is specific. Like he does. Maynard Keenan is exceptional at obvious metaphor in the fact that he couches it in metaphor, but you can get the message without having to draw out blood from it. Mm-hmm. Like the message is there. You just have to think about it for a moment, and it's there. You don't have to You don't have to have like a Charlie Day pinboard of like a conspiracy theorist to try to figure out what each metaphor means on that. That's what I loved about the middle of this album. Mm-hmm. Starting with the Doomed, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, Talk, Buying Down the River. Mm-hmm. Those 4 songs, if you had removed every other song from this album except for these 4, and you bought this album at its regular price, you still wouldn't have been stiffed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Those 4 songs carry this album as far as it goes. The other ones mildly disappointed me.
Huh. This is an album where they did take for them kind of a lot of big swings. A lot of the difference between Tool and A Perfect Circle is they're less experimental and they're less, what's the word, indulgent, I would say. They're more down to business, but they will be experimental. They do have a lot of like weird songs, but this one is a little bit more low key. It's not as heavy as the other ones. Listening to it again reminded me of that because it's been a while since I've listened to the entire album all the way down. There are also times where it's Maynard does some weird singing, to be honest, but that's interesting because I do the songs that you listed off I do love, but I also like the start. Like I think the album starts off very strong with the title song "Eat the Elephant" and going into Disillusioned.
I'd like to speak on Eat the Elephant real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So this song was originally, Howardell has a solo project called Ashes Divide.
Okay.
And he originally had written the music. Again, Howardell writes the music and Keenan writes the lyrics.
Yeah.
Along the way, the Linkin Park and Chester Bennington comes along and says, I really like this piece. Can we get this on One Last Light? I think it was called One Last Light. And that was the last album that Linkin Park worked on before Bennington passed away. It ultimately didn't end up on the album. And so Howardell was like, well, I put all this work together. Hey, Maynard, do you think you can do something with this?
Yeah.
And that's how Eat the Elephant then. And what amazes me about it, this was originally a singular passion project, and then became a work for another band. And when they couldn't take it, I'm not saying they wouldn't take it. I think it kind of didn't fit the message of One Last Light. It then goes like, well, Maynard, can you do something with it? And it becomes the title track of the entire album. I found that interesting. To me, it didn't stack up. I don't hate it. Let me say I don't hate it, but I have a high opinion of Perfect Circle music. Like Mare de Noms is not in my top 5, but definitely top 10 albums of all time. And so, yeah, like it to me, it was like, okay, this is kind of a little hiccup for me. And that's my piece on that one.
So comparing this to the past albums that you offered up to us, it's probably on the bottom of the 3 that you've given us.
Okay.
I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just.
Well, I will say, like listening back to it, this is my favorite Perfect Circle album. But I really like the other ones, you know. But this is my favorite. But listening back to it, I was like, okay, because again, I listen to songs here and there as they come up in my, you know, when I hit random. But it's been a while since, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is a much more low key, kind of unusual album compared to the other stuff. So I can see how this doesn't like necessarily like, you know, rein in with what other people like about A Perfect Circle. So
now,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In full transparency, I listened to your album before listening to Jody's.
Okay.
So
okay, you should have flipped that around, and you probably would have a higher.
Probably. However, the
foreshadowing is a literary tool. Anyway,
now the two things that the thing that stands out to me the most with this album is kind of like the cadence of the drums in Eat the Elephants and Disillusioned. Like,
oh yeah,
those I've stated before. Like one of my favorite like genres of music is like lo-fi beats, like calming, soothing, especially when driving late night. I could listen to those two songs driving, and that's why I find it enjoyable.
Yeah.
So those would probably be my favorite 2 of the album.
Yeah, the songs that Jay mentioned, I really like. I really like The Contrarian.
That is my 3rd favorite line. My favorite lines come from Talk Talk.
Yeah.
But the first line of this song is "Hello, he lied."
Yeah.
That's weight right there. That's again, I can't.
Yeah, the metaphors.
I can't talk about Keenan. Rather, I can't talk about Maynard bad. Like that. Yeah. That's such a sharp line.
I really like that one. I really like The Doomed. I think my favorite song
you mentioned, and it's like little too warbly, like Getty for me in voice. That was the thing that kind of
I figured
me on that one.
like, and I will be honest. The first time I listened to The Contrarian, like that. I pushed against that, but the more I listen to weird voices, I guess the more I like them. My favorite song on the album is Hourglass because it's weird, but it's also the heaviest song on the album.
Okay, I have a weird note on that one. Hourglass, is that the one? Because that's the one with the robot voices, like oligarch.
Oh yeah.
So I could not stop thinking about Tubeway Army. and I could not stop thinking about Gary Newman. And I had a question for you, Jody. Hourglass, if you remember from this album, could that have fit on Replicas? Because there was a modality in his voice, the stuff he was talking about in the song. Could it have fit in on Replicas?
I think that when people are doing like those kind of effects on their voices, it could fit in a lot of different things. It maybe in sections, maybe that the one I can't remember exactly, but there was a part where it sounded like it could have been, but it could have also been on a Kraftwerk album.
Okay.
1975 Radioactivity.
Jody, you've been really quiet in this. Are you waiting to rip apart?
I'm not going to rip you apart.
It's fine if you do.
You're just trying to alleviate the guilt that you're going to.
No, I will feel no guilt about what happens. No guilt whatsoever.
How I felt about the album as a whole, I kind of like it. I usually don't get this experience anymore with music, especially when thinking about Perfect Circle, and I haven't really listened to them since their first album way back when. So
Murder Noms.
It should be Murder Noms. Yeah.
So I went into this going okay, I'm up for a metal album. I didn't really get that, but that's cool though, because I kind of like when Eat the Elephant. That's the first track, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So when that kind of it kind of slowly brings you in, and I think that.
Eat the Elephant is almost a jazz song. It's very close to that.
We'll get to jazz being put in music again. Yeah. Foreshadowing is a literary device.
But it pulls you in, and I think all of the songs that, up until So Long and Thanks for All the Fish came, which is an awesome reference to Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yes.
Up until that point, it wasn't that I was bored by it. I was just vibing to it. I was just I was absorbing everything that was happening through osmosis while I was listening to it at the same time. I barely remember anything except for the fact that I did enjoy it as a whole. A lot of the songs flowed into one another because I was just kind of laid back in my chair and just kind of zoning in.
The only thing by
Perfect Circle
that's like a vibe
that you could vibe to.
It's like I said, it's not a heavy album.
I liked a lot of the piano work on some of the songs. There was some great stuff there with the instrumentation where it was just a piano.
Like I said, amazing late night driving music.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't. Most of these songs I wouldn't want to be driving to because I would.
And a lot of times, and rightfully so, Maynard gets a lot of the more than just the lion's share of the credit. I really want to just shout out Billy Howardell in this.
Oh yeah, I love Billy Howardell.
He's the musical arrangements. Yeah. He's the one putting the music together for this.
And I'm pretty certain just the way Maynard does with all of the members of Tool is they write the music. They all come up with the music. And then he takes the music and then he puts lyrics to it. And I'm pretty certain that that's how he does with pretty much everything. I can't see him doing that differently with at least a Perfect Circle. Maybe Pussifer he does something different because I think there's another singer in that group. But I'm pretty certain that that's exactly how it went with this. Is Billy Howardell would arrange the music and then Maynard would put
that to me for my as a songwriter and I've been in a couple of bands that didn't go anywhere, but I will say that's probably the most creative, fulfilling, without any sort of arguments you can have with a band. Is either you do it a couple of ways. One, Steven Tyler and one other band member writes all the songs for Aerosmith. That's just the way it is. But a lot of times you do get that the situation where the band gets sort of almost complete control over what they're writing before it's edited after it's written. And then the vocalist gets pretty much the same sort of creative freedom to write lyrics over music that's already been made. So I think that's cool. I think that's the coolest way to make music in that regard. If you're not going to write arrangements and like in the old days of the 50s and 60s with the Motown grindhouse of how they wrote songs and all that stuff.
Well, and then also the boy band
dedicated
grind,
song.
Where it's completely produced out and then given into
Nashville,
the band, where this is No, one word said it all. But yeah, this is completely internal and then presented out. I just briefly, so long and thanks for all the fish. Of course, that's referencing.
Yeah, I like that one.
That's referencing Hitchhiker's Galaxy. I noted that it was aggressively happy nihilism.
Yes.
I found out that the video that they did for this was basically test footage of nuclear bombs.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so there was that
it made it very obvious if you watch that. It's like, oh, I know exactly what this is about.
The writing for this one in particular, I think, was in. And I don't know this, but it felt this way. It seemed very personal for Maynard because he lists, either through metaphor or directly, Gene Wilder, David Bowie, Muhammad Ali, Carrie Fisher, all gone in the same year, 2016. In addition, Prince and Karina Round's mother. Karina Round is in the band Pussifer. Yeah. I think it's like something like Karini's mom or Annie's mom is dead. And so I think that's him dealing with loss and him expressing that and getting that out of him. And one of the reasons why, it's time to nuke this thing, because all the people that I seem to care about or that influenced me in some way, they're all gone now.
And that's kind of
at the same time.
Because a lot of Maynard's music had to deal with all the shit that he had to deal with his mom, because she was like an invalid for a very long time. That's what the Tool album 10,000 Days is a reference to. Yeah. And he even had a Perfect Circle song called Judith, which was about his mom. She was very, very religious.
Yeah. That's my favorite song from the period. Yeah.
But he a lot of times he will deal with death and things like that. And that's also kind of calls back to, and I might say this a different way than anybody else says it, but Anemia, the song off the album of the same name but spelled differently, is about washing away all the bullshit. You know, it talks about how he wants a earthquake to come and destroy LA. Yeah. But so that kind of is so those are themes that he often comes back to. Yeah, in his music.
The apocalypse, like we mentioned, Hourglass. There's a very apocalyptic.
Yeah, the Hourglass is all about how again. This is a very nihilistic song. Maynard tends to be very nihilistic, but Hourglass is all about how, we've been seeing warning signs. He talks about the Sentinels are dead, like the canary in the coal mine. He mentions the Tokyo Kitty, which was something, is also another thing. Sparrows, or was it swallows? I can't remember. They were also used to warn of the coal in the coal mines. He lists off all these things and he's talking about how they're dead. So the time's it's running out when we saw the warning signs and it might be a little bit too late. But yeah.
Then my two favorite lines are from Talk Talk. I think this is the first line of Talk Talk is, "We're bleeding out thoughts and prayers, adorable, like cake in a crisis."
Yeah.
If you need to be explained what that means, go. Just leave. They go. The second one is sit and talk like Jesus, try walking like Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, stop sitting on your ass, act.
Yeah.
Do the things that you're praying for. Yeah.
The man makes wine, by the way. He has a vineyard, and
I have not looked into it, but I have heard that Disillusioned is about how he got a bad Yelp review for his wine on Vineyard, so he wrote a song about it.
Which is weird because that thing is, I wrote down prog rock. It's Ziggy Bowie meets Dark Side Floyd.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that song, I like Disillusioned, but I like parts of it better than I like other parts of it. When it slows down, it's like, oh my God, we're doing this again. Like when it slows down the second time, I'm like, oh my God.
In my brain, when I think of Perfect Circle, I think of not necessarily power metal, but there's like we're pushing forward.
Yeah,
that's why that middle selection of tracks is like it's so good for me that, like I said, I don't hate what I'm going to call the first and the last. I just think that if you just gave me those four songs, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. All right. I don't think that's all we got out of that.
Okay.
Can I do something?
Sure.
Can I channel Mark Henry?
Channel Mark Henry.
Time for talks over. It's time for the main event.
So I mentioned before when we were talking about the Big Chill soundtrack that I had a very sheltered, childhood and things like that. So when I was exposed to music outside of that, I took things that were at the quote unquote norm at the time. Nobody was listening to oldies music in my age range in fucking 1988, like unless you're watching Dirty Dancing or some shit. So one of the earlier music videos I saw after about a year or so of being out of that environment was from Faith No More, which was a song called Epic. And the lead singer, Mike Patton, in that video was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Mr. Bungle, there's a tractor in my balls." We'll get there. So Faith No More started in 1983. And in 1985, they released their first album when another band was forming around the same time period in the same area of California, Mr. Bungle. All the guys in Mr. Bungle at the time in 1985 were 15 years old and had released like quite a few demo albums out. And around 1988, 1989, the lead singer for Faith No More got fired for, let's just call it drug use, excessive drug use for a rock band. Getting kicked out for that is pretty impressive. So they needed a lead singer, and they needed one quick. And I can't remember if it was Roddy or if it was one of the other guys in the band, but they said, "Hey man, this Mike Patton guy, he's got some vocal range, so we should hire him for our band." And they already had the music, and Mike Patton wrote the lyrics for The Real Thing in 2 weeks. So I've been a big fan of Mike Patton for a long time. I go back to him from time to time. I'm not really obsessed with him like I was for probably about 10 years after the first time I heard Faith No More. And about a year after that album came out, Mr. Bungle had an actual release on Warner Brothers, which they would not have gotten signed for if it wouldn't have been for Mike Patton being with Faith No More and them gaining popularity. And when that happened, the band had to figure out some stuff on their own. But so we listened to Mr. Bungle, their debut album, and we're gonna go to Brady first before we go to anybody else, because Brady is just chomping at destroying this album, I think.
No. So Jay showed us, he has 2 pages of notes on this fucking album.
Okay.
There once was a rabbit hole, and from that an infinite number of rabbits appeared.
Yeah.
I was curious, so I jumped in. I am the Alice in this story.
Yeah. Okay. And I said, fuck all that.
Yeah.
I'm going back to whatever dinner party I am sleeping under this tree to avoid, because goddamn. So for the first song, the only note that I wrote down was, "This is exhausting." And then the second song I wrote down, "God damn it." And then the third song, I just wrote down the title. I didn't get to anything. I was just like, I can't write. How do you write notes on this bullshit? First of all,
I will show you.
I want to ask a question, Jody.
Yes.
Is this penance for Piano Burning? And if it is, I'm sorry.
No.
I won't do it again. I promise.
I've told you before, I think before we started recording, that my stipulation for submitting an album for this series is I've had to at least listen to it for 20 times. I listened to this album probably over 100 times.
What the actual fuck? I cannot imagine. I sat this entire time with my head in my hands listening to this album, and I was like, please God, just let it in. There were a couple of songs I did not finish because I was just like, fuck this shit. The girls in porn song, I was just like, I'm good. The last song, when all I was hearing was like some bullshit and then like mouth noises, I was like, I can't listen to this. I'm sorry. I've done my duty. God damn it. I have listened to 95% of this album. I cannot give Jody any more than that. I am sorry. I tried. I really tried. I put this album off until yesterday because like I'm just like, I know what this, like the first thing that I did was look it up on Amazon, and I was like, this album was on Amazon, but the fucking Big Chill soundtrack isn't. That baffles me. First of all, I looked and I was like,
rights issues.
It's that's very true. True. Because I think the more songs don't have as many Motown songs on there. But I looked at this song and I was like, This album is 10 songs and it's an hour and 13 minutes. What the fuck, Jody? I believe that was my first words that I said to you. And I was right. What the fuck, Jody? God damn it. Jesus Christ. I don't have any what is there to say about this fucking album?
So real quick. So Mr. Bungle formed from two failed bands. Mike Patton was in a really bad Metallica cover band, and the other members of the band were in a really bad.
This was Mike Patton the whole time singing.
Yes.
Okay, I knew the voice sounded familiar, but it was so grating.
He dropped the falsetto style after a little while.
Yeah. I in my brain, throughout all this, I heard "What is it?" Like the whole time. I got
that was in the back of my brain, but I never could make that connection because I was just like, the whole time I was just like, for God's sakes, make it stop.
Yeah.
So before Jay gets a crack at it.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I want to describe this cover album.
You were obsessed with this cover.
The cover of this album.
Jesus
not
Christ.
a cover. We've already gone over a cover
I
album.
want to
the cover of this album.
Describe the cover album.
Sure, try that. Good luck.
I'm gonna try it. Like, imagine a man
the
with like
Sisyphean task that you have put before yourself. God have mercy on your soul.
Imagine a man with like a Friar Tuck like haircut that's also standing up like Albert Einstein with poorly drawn like clown makeup, who is somehow I imagine he's just crying butter. That's what I imagine in my mind.
God damn.
I listened to the first two songs, and the two thoughts in my mind was, this is as if a group of rodeo clowns made a soundtrack for a horror movie, and Mr. Bungle is secretly the man that made the Ren and Stimpy theme song.
I know that you said you've listened to this a lot, but I feel like this album was entirely made so you could go up to somebody and say, "Hey, listen to this," and just watch their reaction. Like that's the main reason
what
this
y'all
is made
did
for.
to me with the Barbarians. This is what
two,
you did
this
to
is
someone
the two
with
girls,
this album.
one cup of albums. This is all you do is watch somebody's reaction, their horrified reaction, going, "What the fuck is this, man? Why are you showing me this?"
If I may say the names of the album.
Sure.
Hold on.
Sure.
I need you to go halfway. I need you to go to
halfway. Okay.
Stop at Stub-a-Dub.
Okay.
Please stop at Stub-a-Dub.
So, the opening track, quote unquote,
Travolta.
Yeah.
Which I mean, allow me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
James McCarthy, professional agent of chaos in service of the forces of order. The original title of this song is Travolta, because Travolta helped influence and experience it. If you go through the listing, or if you go rather through the lyrics, you may not be able to tell that. However, according to Trace Bruins, who is a member of the band, Travolta's lyric concept, which was very well redacted by Patton, came about in a very unique way. There was a spontaneous brainstorm while the whole band during a long night drive somewhere. For some reason, we were obsessing on the hypothetical inner experience of a person who lost almost all sensory input. Deaf, blind, limbless, and with mouth sewn shut. Everything he experiences is tunneled through a highly developed, almost miraculously compensatory sense of smell. He is thrown onto a trampoline by who? A sick torturer laughing at him? Loving parents attempting to provide something joyful that normal kids do. How would it matter in either case? As you might expect from a bunch of alienated teenage delinquent heshers pondering over such questions, we were in collective hysterics over all of this. The truth, though looking back, is that we very much identified with this tragically monstrous character, who is, in his extreme sensory isolation, was effectively living outside of normal time and space. I say this now, but 400 miles from anywhere, pre-internet, we were receiving our cultural reference in a way that could be compared to breathing through a tiny straw. And in some way, therefore, we were therefore free from their actual influence, free to imagine them any way we wanted to. We weren't thinking this about ourselves at the time, but the Travolta figure exemplifies the idea that when left only with one's imagination and some vague other impressions from far off, such a suffocated entity might not feel deprived so much as to take advantage of the elasticity of his state, to become something of a shapeshifter. In our adolescent gloom, therefore, Travolta would of course take on identities of various megalomaniacs. Hitler and Trump are mentioned, and there's something prescient there about pathological narcissism mixing with the unbounded entrepreneurial spirit, peppered with a life mission of compensatory revenge.
Okay, you don't get any of that bullshit from this fucking song. What the fuck?
My take, just real quick, was this album made as a dare to a USC music theory student after they were transported to the future of 1992 Detroit on the record release day of ICP's Carnival of Carnage with the expressed desire to quote-unquote save the earth. However, outside of Prince, music theory majors generally don't make good superheroes, and the whole thing was a giant sonic fail. Thanks, Sylvester McCoy. That was the last Doctor Who of the night before they let it sit for 10 years and then reawakened it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this song, but specific and for a lot of it, the entire album itself to me is a grand experimental failure. I don't hate this album. Mm-hmm. It's not something I would seek out, but I almost applaud the attempt. No, I applaud the attempt. I'll take out the descriptor. I applaud the attempt at trying to do this because in some weird way, I hear the entirety of 90s music outside of East Coast and West Coast rap. I hear all of it inside this album.
Yeah, I did write down aggressively, offensively 90s.
And it's like 1991.
Like there was even one point where I was like, is this considered ska? Like, I'm not super into ska, but like a lot of this sounds like ska.
Squeeze Me Macaroni, the third track. Ska, also Food is Sex. Yes. Now it's the Devil's Rejects. Wait, now it's smooth R&B. Now it's the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now back to just plain ska. I was like, now party rocking. Now. Just people screaming.
The band's influences are Slayer, Merciful Fate, The Specials, Fishbone. It continues.
Yep.
There was at one point I was like, was one of the people in this? Did they go on to start the Red Hot Chili Peppers? But I refused to look it up because, like, God damn it, I'm not putting that much effort
I think that was just like a funky kind of California thing that was going on.
It just felt the same.
These guys were like between 16 and 17 when they wrote these songs. When they got signed, they were 19.
100% tracks. Yeah. Every thing that you just said tracks.
Yeah, late 80s California dudes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Going back just to the second song, Slowly Growing Deaf. Mm-hmm. I wrote down the note, you better keep up with this gear shifting or you'll go off the road and crash into a school bus full of already dead children, which seems to be the killer's plan all along. Like, yeah, the genre shifts happen almost in the lines.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like, you start a line and before you get to the end of the line on it, you've changed whole genres.
Yeah, you can't. I couldn't ever get into a song because it would be like, okay, this sounds. Oh, okay, it's done. Okay, cool. That sounded cool, but we're on to something else. We don't have time for for this bullshit that we just did.
So the fourth track is Carousel. Mm-hmm. You got any comments on that, Jay?
Metal guitars into carnival music, into vomiting, into ska, into trumpets, into Nintendo sounds. Like at the very end, there's like 8-bit Nintendo chip.
God bless you, Jay, for trying to keep up with the changes because I was just like, I cannot
Brady,
do this.
Please understand. Like I liked for the most part the Perfect Circle stuff. Again, the 4/4 there. This album fascinated my ass.
Jesus Christ!
I needed to know more as I was going down with this. I needed to know more about how this got created because this is fascinating. This is a horrible failure, and it's wonderful.
So Stub-a-Dub is about Mike's dog, right? And in the opening line...
Hold on. I understand that.
Okay.
They don't understand that.
Yeah. So
I will be honest.
Like you said, no, it's like about Mike's dog, right? Like you said, like 2 + 2 is 4, right? You know, it's like we understand that all that. No one understood that except you and me, Jody.
I maybe got like 5 words out of this, and I cannot remember any of them right now.
Let me give you the opening and closing.
You know more words than I do. I just heard
5
words.
might be generous. I will be honest, because I was just like, I can't keep up with this.
So Stub-a-Dub, do you remember we called you puppy? Now you're one of us, we call you family. That's the opening to that song. Okay. And then he talks about the dog slowly becoming sick with glaucoma and things like that. And then the last verse of that is, do you remember when we called you family? Now we call you memory.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's about his dog dying.
It's about the dog dying. Girls of Porn is...
Whoa. Hold on.
Okay.
We missed egg.
We did miss egg. However, we can go back, but this is a very important point I want to make right here. So I got to the end of Stub-a-Dub. And I was like, Jody did this for me. He got revenge on Brady for piano burning.
No.
I hope we are friends forever. I hope Jody never does anything to hurt me. The next song is My Ass is on Fire.
Impotence.
That sentiment.
Boomerang.
That sentiment didn't last the first syllable of the next
you.
song.
I'll stab you.
God.
Ethan, tell them about the 10-minute, 40-second classic Egg.
Like,
It's 7 minutes of a memory of a song.
10 minutes and 40 seconds is the track listing.
I'm getting to it. It's 7.5 minutes of a somewhat put together instrumental with some words thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's most of this album that you just described, but go on.
And then 3 minutes of whatever the fuck I listened to.
There were points where I was just like, I gotta go to the next song. Like I got through most of this song. I'm good.
I'm pretty sure when they were making this song, they forgot to hit stop recording, and then they just left the studio.
Literally just stuff is going on in the background for like 3 minutes.
Yes.
That's literally the end of the song.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That is this album's piano burning.
I don't have any.
This whole album is piano burning.
I was gonna say that.
This is true. I don't have any problem with long songs. For God's sakes, again, like I said, I really like Tool, and most of their songs, especially on this last album, are very long. God damn it, they have a 15-minute song called Tempest with a 7. Figure out where the 7 goes.
I'll say this. I don't mind long songs if they're good.
But this was
Old statement, Cotton.
This song, this album was such a fucking slog for me. I was just like, God damn it, when is this over? Oh, another 7-minute song. Whoopee.
My Ass is on Fire.
Jody, I would have rather listened to Gary Newman than listen to this.
You would rather listen to Gary Newman.
Yes.
God damn it. Now he's going to give us some really weird experimental shit.
That's all you're getting from now on.
My first note for
I'm kidding. This is great.
This is great, Jody.
I'm kidding.
This is great, Jody. Don't just...
My first note on this, and I apologize to Nicholas Krebs.
Make the next one easy. Chew it up and feed it to me in my baby birth.
No more complexity.
My first note on My Ass is on Fire, which is 7-minute and 48-second song. And I apologize to Nicholas Krebs if he's listening to this, but this song mixes jazz, funk, metal, and Disturbed. Draymond and Mike Patton are the same person.
God damn.
Half of this song could be a song from the band Disturbed. The first half of the song. And say, the EMTs are here.
I could just see him going, it's not funny, my ass is on fire.
The final third is just screams.
Yeah, there's a lot of
take
screaming.
on 50 sitcoms. Hey, Mike Patton, Leave It to Beaver. That was my Leave It to Beaver joke.
Nice.
That went over like a lead balloon.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Now you mentioned Girls of Porn.
Yes.
Host, take it back.
Yeah. So Girls of Porn.
I didn't make it through this song.
Is a satire on porn addiction, which Mike actually had at one point as well. So it's about introspective, but it's also satire because porn can be addicting.
Yes,
for sure. Mm-hmm. And I do think that the song might have, like some of the songs, including this one, 6 minutes and 42 seconds might have been a little bit too much of that.
I don't know what at one point I turned. I hit forward.
These are my two back-to-back notes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most consistent song on the album, followed by, at 1 minute left, the music just stops, but there's still a minute left in the song.
Jesus Christ! I'm so
Again,
glad
they forgot to hit stop recording, and they just left.
We now hit my favorite song on the album. Love is a Fist. 6 minutes. I get the message. It's almost Maynard in how he does it. That's a bit of a stretch, but there is something in this metaphor that actually when they're talking about love as a fist, they're talking about like physically violent love relationships with people you quote unquote love. Like you're talking about abusive, toxic relationships. Yeah. This one was good.
Yeah,
I got it. Like it's almost punk, especially "Love is a Fist," like just like throwing that out there. It's like, okay, I get Mike Patton, you got me on that one.
Like one thing, and I know this isn't like I'm not specifically trying to defend this album by saying this, but one thing you have to take into consideration, like I'm looking at Ethan here, is the time period when this came out. This came out in 1991. This came out before grunge broke, before alternative rock was on MTV, before any of that shit happened. This was well before that. This is when fringe metal bands like Faith No More were still metal bands, and there wasn't any other alternative quote unquote. Like MTV was your only, mostly, unless you lived in a big city, was your only outlet for anything different. Not saying Mr. Bungle got played on MTV, but Faith No More did.
Well, let me just add this also. This is also still an era where we're at the very end of ABC, NBC, CBS, and now Fox. That if you only had rabbit ears, this was the only way you were getting entertainment. And if you were getting it through, say, ABC, you were getting it through American Bandstand. If it was syndicated, it was Solid Gold. So only the poppest of pop tracks were coming out there. In my brain, there is a universe in all of the universes where this became the norm for a period of time. It was either this or the Seattle Sound, and for us, we're on the track where the Seattle Sound won.
Well, another thing I want to say too is like I know you guys are not going to voluntarily go out and listen to any other Mr. Bungle albums, but I have to say this, that so I said that when they hired Mike for Faith No More, he wrote the lyrics for The Real Thing in 2 weeks. After that, the next album they had with Mike on Faith No More was Angel Dust. That was a collaborative thing. And slowly over time, now not counting some of his other side projects, Faith No More, Mr. Bungle started switching out band members, and you could kind of tell. And so that kind of like, they sort of like homogenized at one point, and the experimental crazy wacky shit from this first album slows down a lot later on down the road in their library.
Also, and I think it needs to be stated, like you said, this album is by 15 and 17 year olds, started written when they were 15,
right,
published at 19.
Yeah,
eventually these become grown men.
Yeah
And it to me it would be interesting for, like, again, the fact that they have a song called Love is a Fist at that young, to bring up that kind of subject matter, and in a way that isn't puerilely offensive. Like they aren't trying to like, oh yeah, let's beat up some women that we're in love with. No, he's like there's an actual like kind of, we recognize this and this is shit.
Like I could tell you like a project that he had called Tomahawk. I think Brady would probably like Tomahawk. I think you might actually dig Tomahawk.
To be honest, like I'm not super big into Faith No More. Like,
right.
I don't dislike them. And I like their big song Epic, I think is fine.
Right.
I don't love that song.
Well, he dropped that falsetto style of singing too after that album for the most part.
I think the more that I think about this, I think that this is one of those things that people or bands that I liked, I don't often like the things that influence them.
Right.
Like I remember.
Bungle influenced Korn, by the way.
Like I listened. Well,
not that you're a Korn fan.
Yeah, not that I'm a Korn fan.
Right.
Like I listened to a podcast one time, like a Nirvana podcast, where it was a very deep dive into all stuff Nirvana, and they talked about the Melvins all the time. I was like, well, let me go back and listen to them.
Not a fan of the Melvins.
I was like, I can't listen to this.
Yeah.
This is not. I don't like this. This isn't for me. And this is one of those things.
Wasn't it Patton Oswalt that said, "I like the things that I like. I don't necessarily like the things where the things I like come from."
And
right.
Well, he was talking more about like prequels with that. But,
even I think the message
kind of
that's very
it's
very good.
But I mean, sometimes you want to look at that, and I'm certain that like this influenced some things maybe that I liked. I don't know, probably not a whole lot that I liked.
Right.
But this just isn't this ain't my thing.
Right. I will not put you through Mondo Cane, which is Mike Patton's solo project that he did with an Italian orchestra where he covered 60s and 70s Italian songs in Italian.
Yeah, I will say if we do get to like an arms race, but like you're gonna out weird any, like maybe Jay would know some weird shit that like is unpleasant to listen to for the rest of us. But I don't like, I'm just not like when it comes to
what was my last album? Do you guys remember? Because I don't.
Your last album was the Gary Newman.
Yeah.
Was it Gary Newman? What was the one before that?
It was 10 Silver Bullets.
Oh, 10 Silver Drops.
10 Silver Drops.
Yeah.
Excuse me, my bad.
Yeah, you're gonna win. You're gonna win that, and two, it's gonna get to a point where like we just can't do. These
No.
But
this is a one and done.
If it's really, if it like, I cannot imagine. Like, I will be honest, I cannot even put myself in the brain of where I would listen to this 100 times.
I would say that I guess for I mean, taste is subjective, and I think that for a lot of especially like devout music listeners, experimental can sometimes go too far.
Yeah,
for some,
there's a lot of like weird. Like it's hard for me to get into a lot of experimental stuff. I can. I think like clipping is an example of that. But like I'm not as out there. I can watch and like I think I'm more easy to watch like a movie that's more experimental than I am with actually listening to something.
Well, my taste is actually really wide, by the way, in case, for the audience. Audience,
I think that I have or at least try to have a wide taste.
My taste is extremely wide.
But yeah.
I would like to, so we talked about influences, and so seeing the cover and like hearing a lot of the music, I had to wonder because since 1992, you cannot think of clowns and music without thinking about the Insane Clown Posse. So, incidental, just a quick aside on this, the album cover is not an original piece of artwork. It was done by Dan Sweetman, and it is from A Cotton Candy Autopsy, which is a comic book that was produced by the DC Comics imprint Piranha Press. And the title of the series is Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children, which when you put it into that kind of context, I get that picture 100% absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's an autopsy.
Like that name. That's a cool name.
Yeah, it's an autopsy for a clown. He's holding a match. He's holding a match. If you look at that, you can see the stem of the match and the fire coming from it.
I said that like it looked like
he was crying butter.
Crying butter.
Yeah, no, I get that. I at first didn't understand the Einstein hair, and then I look at his hair. It's like, oh no, his hair is going out. Okay, I get that.
The title.
But there's another thing I want to talk about. That if you look at that clown paint, that is Violent J from the Insane Clown Posse. So I was curious, was Mr. Bungle an influence on Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope? Because before 1992, they are the Inner City Posse,
right?
And it's just kind of straight, kind of just just them trying to just rap and that stuff like that. 1992 is Carnival of Carnage. It is the first of the Joker cards. It is the first ICP album. Did this have an influence on them? And the answer is inconclusive. However, during my lookings through, I found our Juggalos on Reddit.
Oh, God.
And one of the top posts on there is, have y'all heard of Mr. Bungle? Clicked on it, and Jody, rest assured.
Oh God,
Juggalos love Mr. Bungle.
No,
I don't mean the band. I mean this album. Yeah. They love it.
Oh, this one album specifically.
Reddit Juggalos love this Mr. one
Bungle. Album. Mr. Bungle's named after a character from a instructional video from the 60s. That
sounds about that. Yeah. That tracks. All that tracks.
That Pee Wee Herman showed on Pee Wee's Playhouse in 1985, 86, which is where they got the idea for the name.
Yeah, all of this tracks. None of this sounds out of the ordinary.
We're on the wall
for
connecting
this.
Everything.
Yeah,
with
all of this is out of the ordinary. Objectively, but oh man,
I promise the next album will not be experimental.
Like you could do whatever you want, kind of weird shit. But
let me say, like for me,
I don't think me personally, I could find anything more weirder than what we'd listen to.
Okay, well that's gives me a little bit of hope
because I refuse to put anybody through what was it Hager? What was her name? German singer.
Oh
yeah.
Christ,
she's fucking terrible.
So my as far as where I feel my position is in the Omnibus mixtape is I'm always going to pick something either pop or just easily digestible. Like Bat Out of Hell is very easily digested. After Hours, I think, is very easily digested. Again, a soundtrack is literally just picks of best songs. So it's something just kind of, okay, this is like, to me, it's the ginger on the sushi plate. You listen to my stuff to kind of cleanse the palate and then go on to something else. With Ethan, I see him as a kind of more like youth, like the last 10 years of music. If I'm wrong about this, Ethan, please pipe up and correct me.
No, it's
with Brady, I'm not even going to say the hipster route, but I think it's going to be thoughtful. With you, it's going to be experimental. That's how it's been like the last three. Now, we could always completely change everything up. Somebody could come in with a wild card, which I think would be very interesting.
The Secret Machines weren't an experimental band. They were a proto space rock band.
When you say proto, it sounds like they're experimenting with space rock.
Okay.
I'm just
the
saying.
idea that I usually come with is, one, this is an album that I like to listen to the entire album all the way through, and two, a big thing that I've been doing with these is this is something that I would like people to listen to.
Right, of course.
This is something that doesn't get a lot of, that I don't think a lot of people are familiar with, and maybe could broaden their horizons a little bit, but not near as much as whatever.
I'm gonna take the piss.
He took us past the horizon into space.
Well, I wanted you to have an experience.
Clowns.
We are beyond.
I wanted you to have an experience.
He gave us Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the album.
You had
this is like
an experience.
This is like Enter the Void, the album.
I'm going to take the piss out of my own selection here, because I've got some critiques of my own after like not listening to this album for over 20 years.
Oh wow!
It is not aged well for me personally.
I can see that.
I was okay because I was I was like vibing to remembering the songs, and I was like, because when I got an album, I had to get mileage out of it because that's just the way it was back then. But I was okay until Girls of Porn hit, and because Stub a Dub is very emotional to me, because that song's about like a pet dying, and I had that happen a couple times, just naturally over old age and everything like that. But once it gets to Girls of Porn, I'm like, oh, they're gonna fucking hate me. They're gonna fucking hate me. This song is too much.
You didn't have to wait for Girls of Porn. My Ass Is on Fire was the tipping point.
I didn't
Paraplegic inhuman liar.
I didn't get out of quote unquote.
I
was like,
Travolta.
Fucking hell, Jody.
Travolta.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Incidentally, quote unquote is the name of John Travolta's biography.
Oh, of course it is.
So that's what the reference there.
Yeah, I think Egg was my breaking point.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was 10. It was a 10 minute 40-second song. Those 3 minutes are just as important to the song.
Oh,
I broke way earlier than everybody else. I already had my head in my head.
Don't you fucking look at me!
Don't you fucking look at me! Jody, I'll just say that and I'll even say it to you, Brady, because you were the last one. If you throw experimental at me, I'm going to pull that. Like, if you hand me a Lego construction, I'm going to pull it out brick by brick, because things like this fascinate me.
Right.
This was a piece of creativity, whether you like it or not like it, that entered the world.
Yeah. How
did this enter the world? What effect did it have on the world? I'm curious about this thing. So I will this is the one like with I was about to call him Sleep Token, but
Clipping.
Thank you. With Clipping, why put 15 fucking minutes of a piano burning? What is the significance of this
minutes, sir?
I forgot the last three. I blacked out at that point.
Trace Bruance talks about the times when Mike left to do Faith No More, F&M, and he said that they were avant-garde hipsters at night and broke shucksters in the morning.
I will say, at least with this album, I think I've successfully kept it from any part of it being in my brain. So at the very least, it will not take up space in my memory.
Yeah.
And I don't hate you, Jody.
Yeah.
Of course. And I think it's mainly because I was able to successfully keep this from worming its way into my brain.
Oh, okay.
Well,
if it did, I might I might have to put out a blood debt on you, to be honest. But we were saved that.
I'm going to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and go, love is a fist, and then just hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Now this is begging the question, would you rather listen to this album or the Shinedown album I recommended?
Don't put that hell
Hold
on me.
No.
This is hell.
Your hell is upon you, and you must answer.
No, this is hell.
Shinedown or Mr. Bungle?
One more time or many more times?
One more time. I'm not even going to edit this out. I'm going to
just leave it
the dark
the way it
space
is.
just fucking
He's
hell.
really thinking about it.
No, because this is
Shinedown or Mr. Bungle. You have to choose.
I think because I think I could successfully listen to Mr. Bungle again and not any piece of it stick in my head. So I'm gonna go with
You're
that.
worried about hearing Devour 500 times.
I'm worried
in your
about
brain,
hearing no. Devour is like a song that's okay from that album.
It's just the best of the album.
It's all those. It's the 10 other songs that were played on a loop on fucking rock stations that I can't stand listening to. There were moments afterwards, after I had to listen to that album, where like I would catch myself, like a piece of a song would be in my head, and I'd be like, "Fucking hell!"
I couldn't even do that because it was headache inducing.
I hate that. Well, I wish that it was headache inducing. And
Mr. Bungle is better than Shinedown.
No, I'm not gonna.
John Brady
hold on.
did.
We're not gonna go that far. I just think that I could listen to Mr. Bungle and it just kind of wash over me. Because there's no peace, like there's nothing, because it's so random.
Are you trying to fear is the mind killer? I will let my fear wash over me. And
It's so random that like
here.
that like nothing can stick. So
10 minutes of abrupt signature changes.
Yeah.
That I don't mind a song again.
Yeah.
I like Tool, and that's one of the big things that Tool does. Like everything that I like, a lot of the things that I'm complaining about in this album are things that I like in other bands. I just like the way they do it as opposed to this.
You don't want 5 genre changes in a minute is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I think just for the fact that I could successfully have this album just wash over me and be done with it. Although at least
Mr. Bungle.
On the other hand, though, if I listened to Shinedown, I wouldn't have to listen to Girls on Porn or Girls in Porn or whatever the fuck that song
Girls
is.
Up Porn.
Goes Up Porn.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll take your word for it.
Ginger.
That's another thing from that song as well. Yeah.
At that point, I was like, I can skip this song. It's fine. I know
sucking motherfuckers.
I know where this goes. I can see the future in this song.
That line, I knew didn't age well at all.
But
that song didn't age well.
No, it did not.
This fucking Sophie's Choice that you fucking gave me.
But you made it.
Except I hate both of my children in this album.
You made your choice and you were stronger for it.
Am I?
Yes.
Am I?
Yes.
I don't feel stronger.
You were like a 5-pound soy boy, and now you're like a 10-pound alpha male.
Sure. Yeah.
Jody, do we have anything more left in the?
This has been like almost 5 minutes on like each of our albums. Then we spent like an hour on.
That's why I had to go last.
That's why it was the main event.
Yeah. This is true.
We would like to thank Cameron Spanier, sole owner of McNarb Gaming, for letting us
and God of McNarb Gaming,
letting us use this wonderful studio space. Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you, Cameron.
And Greg. Just because.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cameron.
McNarb Gaming, they have everything.
Yeah.
And shit.
Thank you for keeping up the tradition. Whiskey and Wrestling is a podcast where they're slowly just going to be just drinking whiskey for an hour and a half of this AEW
just
shit.
Continuing to get drunk.
You don't follow anyone after a trios match involving the Elite. That's your main event.
Not that match, anyway.
But if you want to hear Michael Hill and Jason Holder's opinions on all of this, were you checking to see if I actually did?
No, I was checking.
Notes?
I was like, Did you write a clock for one of these albums?
No, that was an old.
That was a Blades in the Dark.
Blade in the Dark.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, what the fuck were you doing?
I'm starting an 8-tick clock on my ass is on fire. 3 ticks in, it's heading towards my bunghole. Yeah, just the way it is.
Fever dream of Mr.
Whiskey and Wrestling available every Sunday on all major podcasting networks.
Yeah.
Ethan, tell us about
Fearology is a
there you
podcast
go.
hosted by the one and only Jody Kite.
Jolene Kite.
Jolene.
Dolly Parton write a fucking song about me.
If you can get Dolly Parton as a co-host, you will do massive numbers.
Yes.
Jody talks about his personal experience with horror movies, gives deep dives on the makings of movies, and gives his personal reviews.
9 House Cats.
9 House Cats, yes.
9 Tales of Terror.
Yeah. That's the last episode, though.
Again, that's Fearology on Anchor and Spotify, I believe.
And it's also on Google Play and Amazon.
Hell yeah. You have you have a different
I have
saga.
a different saga.
There we go.
Yeah.
Saga.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Again, that's Fearology.
Brady, tell us about Silence Your Cell Phones.
So yeah, guys, if you want more bullshit opinions on movies and TV shows and stuff like that,
What did they do to you?
no, guys.
Mr. Bungle is what did anything to.
I'm sorry,
they
guys.
like-
I apologize.
like
No,
Mr. Bungle?
no, I apologize, guys. It's residual from Mr. Bungle. I apologize.
You're just part of the collateral.
I'm still coming down from that. I'm still recovering. I apologize. Kevin Sheldon and Jarrett Hubbard.
Yay.
They're great guys. They're gonna talk about movies and TV shows, and they're gonna give you their opinions, and they're gonna be good opinions. They're not gonna be bullshit opinions. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. I won't do it again. I'm sorry that I hurt you.
And I'm sorry that I hurt you.
Oh, anywhere that stuff is on, they do it on YouTube too. So yeah. Check them out if you want to hear somebody probably not as cynical as I am talk about movies and shit. Yeah, check that out. They're cool dudes.
For travelers on the Omnibus.
Oh wait, we have a couple.
We got all this extra shit that we got to do.
So Kevin Gallo, aka Ron and Roosta on Twitch, and Kevin Gallo on YouTube. Every Tuesday, enjoy their wonderful RPG experiments and expeditions. Last one was another trip into Cyberpunk Red, and also every other week it is Poke Roll, the unofficial Pokemon podcast. Also, something that Jody and I might also want to mention: we have a new podcast contender into the field. Our friend Christopher Vega, along with his friends, have the Completed podcast. Completed spelled COMPLEATED.
Yes.
Yes. It is a Magic the Gathering podcast. They are the team members from Team Metamorph. One of our local MTG crews is basically every week going to take you through talking about Magic, from sets to the play styles going on through, where it'd be typically, I believe it's going to be Modern and maybe also Commander, but we'll see on that.
They go about their own personal stories with Magic events, Modern, Legacy, Pioneer coming up, and whatnot.
The first episode, I think, knocked it out of the park, and I can't wait to hear more. So, Chris, thank you for joining the more voices in the podcasting world in the local area. Great, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Christopher Vega, Brandon Smith, and Brandon Scott Tanner.
There you go.
Is that all we got, Jay?
I think that's all we got, unless you want to add some more.
No.
Just next week, folks, get ready for
two-player
games.
Two-player games.
All right, travelers on the Omnibus.
McCarthy, James.
Davis, Brady. I guess that's how
Skinner, Ethan Hunter.
I'm Jody Kite. Watch more movies. Play more music. Listen to more music. Play more games. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
All of that.
Also,
stuff,
be more nerd.
Be more nerd.
Thanks for stopping by, guys. Enjoy the ride.
Yuppies.